All right, we are back in session, and we are on item number 12, council consideration of memorandum of understanding for a mixed-use development in downtown Watertown. And I will look for a motion and second for approval. Moved by Bueller, second by Y, and we'll open the discussion with our Watertown Development Company Director, Chris Shilkin.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Tonight we've been working about the last year and a half since I've been here on downtown redevelopment and downtown development projects. And tonight we have a memorandum of understanding agreement with a developer, with one of the ones we've been working with to redevelop a downtown site in Watertown that would provide downtown apartments and some mixed-use development, as well as some additional public parking spaces for downtown. So right now I'll open up to questions, and also the developer is here, so if you want to speak with the developer, Jesse is here, as well as there's other community members too that are here to support the project as well.
Okay, I would like someone to give a brief description of the project so that the public can understand what it is we're talking about. And do we have any drawings we can show?
Really?
Yep, you're up.
Hi. Jesse Craig Development out of Fargo, North Dakota. We've kind of run through quite a different few scenarios. We had a different site that we initially started with. Ended up with this site. It's a little tighter than a person would normally have. It's kind of limited to the number of parking levels that we could put on there. So what we ended up with was 48 lower level parking spaces. That'll be a heated parking garage below grade. We'll have 28 surface parking stalls that'll be open to the public. And then on facing Broadway, we'll have about 7,800 square feet of commercial space. And that'll be, on top of that will be another 3 levels of apartments, 13 units per floor. And it'll be 36 one-bedrooms and 3 two-bedrooms. Yes, sir.
Before we get too far into it, would we be able to tell the public where we're looking at putting this development agreement?
Yeah, Heath, can you bring up the harbor site?
Just so
We're
they know
having
the
technical
area.
difficulties.
What's that?
So they know the area that we're talking about.
Absolutely.
I have a question. While they're getting the egress up like that, Jesse?
I'm sorry.
Oh,
sorry.
no, it's okay. I should have gotten your attention.
No,
first.
no, I'm sorry.
I know that I have, it's not a concern. I have a question about, and I know you can answer this, about how these buildings or the developments fit in with the character of the downtown we have right now, because I think that's really important too, because we've been working very hard on changes to make sure that we're keeping with our historic downtown.
Yeah, and it's really interesting in coming to Watertown is that, you know, typically, and please understand, I'm not comparing Watertown to Fargo in any way, shape, or form. I'm here just on the merits that Watertown has to offer. But up there, you know, we have downtown mixed use, and with that comes overlays and requirements as far as the amount of glass you have to have, the amount of materials, what type of materials you use, what percentage of that is brick, even the type of roof structure and things like that. So of course we want to come into Watertown, and I want to honor the past, but also look at some features that would kind of look at more of the industrial feel and kind of where Watertown sees itself in the next 15, 20, 30, 50 years. And I'm going to ask for input from City Commission and City staff and things like that to help us kind of guide us that way. Because right now you look up and down one block or the other and there's quite a few different fronts, quite a few different bricks, things like that. So because this is, you know, kind of creating a new market in downtown with a higher end apartment, higher end commercial, there's some risk that's, you know, that I'm taking, of course, with the amount of dollars that I'm investing, but I'm more concerned about the interior for my tenants and things like that. The exterior is going to be kind of the vision of what the citizens of Watertown want to see, and so we're going to spend a lot of time on that. Yep. And we'll probably end up, I'm not going to speak for any city staff or anything like that, but I would see that probably some policy will probably be written with that. so that there are those requirements, because I don't want to put this project in down there and then across the road, a peaked roof, vinyl sided property gets built, you know, so we want to have that consistency going forward, so.
We have been looking at doing an overlay district for our downtown
Yep.
with some standards that are, give some guidelines to make it look the way we want it to
Yeah,
look.
absolutely. There's a lot of, I mean, one of the things Fargo had is they had the fires in the, you know, late 1800s. So a lot of that was gone. And so, you know, we've been piecemealing it together. Where here you've got a ton of history and character and architecture. So it's nice to see that.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
We think so too. Yeah.
Madam Mayor,
Oh,
I do have that
okay.
map pulled up if, for reference, you'd like.
Can you draw a box around where it is? This is on Broadway, and it's north of Kemp. It will occupy the space where the bar burned down recently, and also the space where Burritos on Broadway now exists. And that Burritos building will be taken down, and the hole in the ground where we have the burned out building will be cleaned up and repurposed. So this will also occupy the parking lot north of the Commerce Center, where Watertown Development Company and the Chamber of Commerce and the Convention and Visitors Bureau live.
Right.
Correct.
It'd be more than that with our parking.
Yeah,
lot.
the parking lot going down there.
Color there, that'll work.
Looks like this version of our GIS doesn't have a drawing tool.
But essentially, you can see the vacant parking lot, Burritos building, and the harbor site would all be in here. So
Per address, 60 North Broadway, 12 North Broadway, and then this parking area south of there.
Okay. Councilman Y, did you have a question?
Jesse, I just had a question. Have you done these projects before in downtowns, and how have they worked out and for the community?
So I've done 6 of them in Fargo, and they've worked out very, very well. I mean, dealing a little different incentives up there and things like that, but also a lot higher land cost. Again, I'm kind of creating that downtown market, that young professional high-end apartment. But in looking at the makeup of the citizens and things like that, there's definitely a need for it, I believe. So they've worked out very, very well. The mixed-use component, I've never had this much street. Like, we don't have diagonal parking. Like, it's a rarity in Fargo and things like that. So to have that much, front parking on the project is going to be really nice. We're also hopefully going to be able to deal a little bit with the alley. I'd like to see that as more of a pedestrian walkway than an actual vehicle alleyway from Broadway back to probably the end of the block or the half block. So that's something we're kind of playing with a little bit, and we'll talk to the city staff a little bit about that. But overall, yeah, very successful. I wouldn't be down here doing it if I didn't plan on it being very successful.
Great. Councilman Albertson?
Jesse, just a question. What kind of businesses are you hoping to attract to those? Did you say there are 5 possible areas or fewer or what?
So for the commercial space?
Right.
We have probably about a little short of 8,000 square feet. We could have anywhere from 7 to 9 bays in there. So depending on square footages and things like that. Of course, I don't want to bring in anything that's going to detract from the businesses already in downtown. I want to bring in stuff that's going to complement that. So I don't want to bring in a coffee shop that's going to affect Gather because they have the most amazing chai latte and scones that I've had every time I come down here. Things, so like we've talked about is like Smiling Moose Deli out of Fargo, North Dakota. I know the owner of that franchise. They got breakfast, more healthy options. We've talked about a sandwich or sub shop, but again, we got Dagwoods that's in proximity, so I want to make sure I don't impede on that. I want services that will benefit walkability in downtown Watertown, and also my tenants will frequent. So smoothie shop, ice cream shop, nutritional shake shop, things like that. something I would see. What's that?
We don't have a pharmacy downtown.
The thing with the pharmacy is the drive-through component, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not. North Dakota really prohibits independent pharmacies, so I don't have a lot of knowledge in that. But I know some really good commercial realtors in town that can. Where's he at? Sitting in the back, and Joy's here, so that'll help a lot with that. But I definitely don't want one tenant to take up the whole space. That's not of interest to me or anything like that. So.
Great. Councilman Vilhauer?
Jesse, assuming that we approve this tonight, what's your ideal timetable going forward now?
I would love to break ground. Like, I'd love to have an excavator sitting there so that July 19th we can start excavating and doing site work on it. Then it would be a 12-month building process. So I'd like to get this thing in early July of 2020 so I can start having rentals already, people starting to move in right away. The biggest thing with property management, I don't want to have this thing in October, November, and then try to fill it over the winter. It's just, it's really tough to do that. And we want a successful project. We don't want it sitting vacant, things like that. So,
Are you your own design, build, market?
I have been in the past. I've learned to delegate. I'm turning 50 this year, so I've learned not to take on the world. So I've got a partner of mine, Kevin Bartram, who owns MBA Architects and Engineering out of Fargo. So he'll be a 50% partner with me in it. And then we're going to partner with the general contractor in town. Whether they're the general contractor or the project manager is yet to be determined, but they will use all local trades. The only thing that's coming up that we've talked about is the fact that we may have to bring in additional framing crews for stick building, for stick framing, to get it done in a timetable. But we'd use the initial framing crew out of Watertown. And then we're not sure, the two general contractors I've talked to, they're not sure that they have a concrete person that is knowledgeable enough about the footings that need to be put in to take the weight of that size of a building with the parking ramps and the precast concrete plank that needs to be constructed. So that's the only thing that they talked about, maybe having to pull somebody from Sioux Falls or Fargo for that. But everything else will be local. A lot of the same trades that I have in Fargo, Carl's and things like that, I use all those people, in Fargo, so I'd be able to use them in Watertown.
Okay, very good. Other questions? We need to talk about the financial part. Who would like to? Chris, can you lead that?
Well, Kristen has it all penciled out on the spreadsheet, so I'll turn that over to Kristen. Yeah.
Am I done?
Leave it to the finance officer.
Okay. So the biggest thing in the MOU that we're approving tonight is that the city will be contributing $1.8 million towards this project, and then we've also determined that this will be another project that we establish a TIF for. As far as the 1.8, the city does have certain means to pay for that. We can look into options of bonding. We can look into options of loaning. We do have cash reserves. So all those are the options that the city council will then determine which way to go. But at this point, the city's investment will be the $1.8 million towards the developer.
Kristen, over what time frame?
The TIF would run for the 20 years, and that would also be, if we would go down the route of bonding, that would be that same time frame. So I would say the 20 years is your investment at this point. Chris, did you want to add anything?
No, that was very well put. Thank you.
Well, I would like to add the repayment aspect.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Correct?
Yep, go ahead.
So the initial 1.8, and then the developer will agree to pay the difference, the shortfall that the TIF would not repay the city, which is right now estimated to be around $500,000, and that would be in year 20 that the developer would be obligated to pay that amount. And the other amount that the developer would also pay in that year would be the amount of property tax expended from years 6 to 10 of the project that the city would be reimbursing the developer for. And so the total reimbursement in year 20 would be estimated to be at this point around $825,000 from the developer.
Coming back to the city, right?
Coming back to the city, yes.
All right. Councilman Y?
Chris, maybe, I'm not sure if this was explained or not, but talk a little bit about this parking ramp that will be built there And then there'll be some public parking, is that correct? Could you explain that a little bit?
Just real quick note, year 11 is when the property taxes would start to be repaid though, and that's around $64,000 a year. So that was the only thing that was left out of that a little bit.
Yeah,
So
just half of the 10 that we
yeah,
get back. Yeah.
correct. So, but year 11, you start to see that tax base start to increase and things like that. The surface parking will be 28 parking stalls open to the public. So, and one of the things we've talked about a little bit was signage for the parking space or the surface parking that the city has right now. And on this one, we want to bring in more shrubbery and greenery and things like that too.
Yeah, we were talking
Some
about
signs.
parking signs this morning because just north of there is a city-owned parking lot too that I don't know if the public knows that's all city parking. So just more signage off of First and Broadway directing people to public parking would be helpful. So that's part of the overall downtown plan we're working on.
Other questions, council?
Stay here just in case.
Or comments? This is a very exciting project.
I'll speak up.
Joy Nelson, Haugen Nelson Realty. I think we all understand just how important the revitalization of downtown Watertown is. As we continue to travel down the road of economic development for Watertown in terms of industry and workforce housing, and through our firm too, with enticing people to, as we're showing on properties, to come to Watertown, the question of downtown always arises, and that's been determined in H2O 20 has set this out as a precedent as well. So I think the project is just what we've been waiting for. It will set off other things, for downtown. It will help with economic development. And Mike Lucan was supposed to be here tonight. He couldn't, but he and I are both sitting members of the South Dakota Ready Fund, and we want you both to know that from both of us, that we are very much in favor of this project for economic development. From a personal standpoint, I think it's just awesome. I think this is something we really need to do. So I hope you vote for this.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joy.
Councilman Roby?
I just have to jump on the bandwagon here. There's a tremendous amount of momentum that's starting to coalesce downtown. We've got some businesses moving downtown. We've had some businesses that have started in the last few years, some entertainment type things. The Goss Capital campaign is just getting ramped up. This is that other element that we really need here. Now we've got all these things going on at one time, and I just think it bodes very, very well for our future.
Thank you. I couldn't agree more. Our downtown really has great bones, and we've got very unique, like Jesse said, our downtown is very special. And it isn't just one street, it's cross streets, and we've got everything you'd want, entertainment, housing, businesses, it's all there. So this is great. Councilman Lallam?
When I look at other communities and what they've done with their downtown, uptown area, whatever you would prefer to call it,
Downtown.
they've downtown for Watertown. The others, they call theirs uptown. But downtown, it's a long-term commitment. What this really proves, and hopefully what the community sees this as, is a big jump start for our downtown. The development company has made a commitment. We've made a commitment as a city, and the downtown owners have made a commitment that they want to see this revitalized. There's been some huge steps down there. It seems like a big dollar amount, but in the grand scheme of it, over a 20-year time frame, it's really minimal to what we could possibly see as turning it over and committing to our areas. We've seen some of the large strip malls and some of the malls and some of that stuff. It's not going to that anymore. You go through some of these historic older communities that have really done a lot to their downtowns and redid lighting and storefronts and stuff like that. We have an immense opportunity to really get this started and show the commitment to not only our members, but to our area of the state, that we are willing to put the money out and are willing to entice people to come here. Not to mention, it also adds more apartments and more items where people can be downtown. They can spend their time down there. Hopefully our downtown businesses see that as a starting point as well, that, hey, if we stay open a little bit later, Beth was talking about Thursday Night Live, how many more people were down there than what we've seen in the past. I mean, there's a momentum that goes with that too. So it's really needs to look at this as not just a development for one area. it's trying to get our whole downtown to turn and decide that this is gonna be the place that we go to. Similar to what it was probably 50s and 60s was always, you know, you go to the downtown where, you know, everyone talks about crazy days, you know, back in the day and how many people are downtown. We wanna see that on every day, not just one weekend out of the year, so.
Too many Lallums, I'm gonna have to back away.
No.
Cops are here. Just
Thank
in
you,
case.
Chris. Yeah, Kirk's here. Kyle Lallam, also with Haugen Nelson Realty. You know, we talk about the, you know, the downtown revitalization. This is a huge opportunity for our community to check another one of the boxes that has been identified by the residents and respondents to H2O20. You talk about goods and services in the downtown area and the fact that you've got walkability to almost everything that you would possibly need within a 6-8 block radius. To have an investor like this come down from that has got a proven track record of success and put forth that kind of investment into our community to continue to check that box. You add the parking component, which has been a struggle for the downtown area for a number of years. You know, that revitalization piece that we've talked about, the fact that the development company has filled, I think, almost every vacant building or is in the process of working through and filling every vacant building. This is one of those opportunities where if you build it, they will come kind of deal. And the fact that we can find housing in the uptown area that not only for students but for young professionals, these are the types of things that help communities grow and prosper. And the ripple effect by the council's decision tonight to embrace this opportunity will be felt for 10 to 20 years down the line. So I would encourage you strongly. It is a big dollar amount, but I think if the people watching this and the voters of the community or the citizens of this community really take a look at it, this is a step in the right direction for us, and I would hope that you would support it. Thank you.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you. Councilwoman?
I just want to make a comment, and I'm sure a lot of you are aware of this, but downtowns in these concentrated areas generate more sales and income tax dollars per square foot than any other area of our city. So, you know, it's great. Our investment in there is going to increase any of the dollars coming in. So it's
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out.
Joy Nelson again. I just have one more comment. Adam, you alluded to the commitment from the city, and it is a substantial dollar amount, but the part that we really need to be looking at is the offshoot from that. I think the payback on that is really a relatively small period of time in terms of other revenue for the city and what it will attract for us. So the payback is short term, I believe.
Yeah, I think you start to see it almost immediately, to tell you the truth. I mean, if we get 6 new businesses in there like they're talking about putting in, how many more people go to our downtown? How many more sales do we generate simply from really half of a block?
Yeah, and I think we also are overlooking what it is now, and no offense, I mean, it's a hole in the ground, and it's a vacant building. So, I mean, you take 2 non-producing properties and get them back into production at, you know, the project of this size. We should probably state that too, that currently what we have now, tax generation is minimal compared to what it will be.
Well, not to mention the one building where there is the hole there has not had nothing in it for at least 3 years before that. So it's one of those deals that we were getting no benefit from that at all.
Right.
So we are going to see that right away.
Councilman Albertson?
I'd just like to comment on the fact that when you mentioned the young people that Craig is saying it's kind of looking toward young people, I just had the occasion to be downtown Sioux Falls Friday night, and I saw the numbers of people that were younger than David J. Law down there. But it was really, there were lots of people, and I asked a couple of them, where do you live? And they said, up in the lofts here, up in the lofts over there. So I think we're really on the right track. So,
Yeah, thank you. Councilman Villar?
Just a quick comment. Kudos, Chris, to you and your staff and your board.
Thank you.
You've been working this for a long time. It's nice to see it coming to this point and us taking action on it as a council, but compliments to you and your crew.
Thanks, Glenn. Appreciate the support, and as well from the council members. You guys have been very supportive of what the development company's been trying to do.
I just wanted to point out, Mike Lawrence, I own Harry's. Me and my wife own Harry's. I better stipulate that, or else I get in trouble when I get home. But I wanted to put out the fact that some of the people that are regulars in our bar actually do live downtown. and they come there daily, and they become family. Yeah, and I mean the high rise is right next to us, and they come there with their families when they come on the weekends, and they patronize our businesses. And having that base downtown is almost. It's almost like a guarantee money. I mean, I know those people are going to be there. The people who come from out of town or drive across town, you know, we appreciate them too. But there's people that are there almost every day that just walk down for one beer a day, and that extra $3 pays part of a wage of one person for me every single day. And I think that having that base down there, where if we can add as many people as this project will bring in, that's one more person sitting at that bar stool. That's one more person that's helping me pay for my staff and improving my business as I grow. So I just really think that having a base downtown it's really important. And I also want to commend the property owners that are currently here, like Missy and Dustin and Sarah, who is my neighbor. They fixed up their units, and I hope to do the same. But we're bringing some great people downtown that spend money there. And it's really nice to see. I mean, she has people that stay from the hospital that come in and out of town, and we get to know those people, and it's just really nice to have that base down there. They come down there a couple times a week and patronize our business and really help us make our business go. So, thank you.
Yep. Very good. Any other comments from the council? And let's take some action. Oh, Missy. Missy.
You don't need me to talk.
No. Didn't know you were going to talk.
That's okay. I'll keep it very brief. So I'm Missy Sinner. I'm the executive director of the GOS. I'm coming at this from a couple different perspectives. First of all, for the GOS, only good things are going to happen from bringing down all of these residential people, and they're going to be patronizing all of the businesses. We know that. Second of all, I'm a business owner, or I was downtown for 15 years, and I know that having all of that traffic is only going to help the other business owners, of course. Thirdly, I'm coming as a building owner. I have 5 apartments downtown. As Mike had mentioned, we have mostly medical professionals that stay with us. Some are, I have a traveling anesthesiologist. I've had traveling nurses, really upstanding members of the community, I would say, for the most part. And so I'm not against this at all. It would, be competition kind of to me. And I just want to be clear that I just think it's going to be great. I think we're all on the same page with that, though. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, here we go. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries.
No, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes.
Thank you.
Get a prize at the door for being here speaking on at least 3 subjects.
We got something else Mike can talk about.
Make the motion to
All
adjourn.
right, we got a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion by Lallam, second by Wyatt? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries.